Today, I really want to kind of share my story, my journey with having ADHD, growing up with ADHD and dyslexia, because I get a lot of comments where people think, wow, you're a doctor. Do you really have ADHD? How is that even possible? So let me share my story with kind of commenting to a lot of these different kind of comments that I do get on a regular basis of how is it possible being a doctor and having ADHD and dyslexia. Well, I'll tell you, it was definitely not easy. But I will also say this before I get into my story is that every person with ADHD has different levels, and some are more severe than others, and it's really hard to equate that. And I always say this, you shouldn't be really comparing yourself to others or even comparing other people with ADHD. Now, certainly there can be inspiration. I've always, as a kid, I would look at other people's stories that had ADHD and succeeded. That, if they can do it, I can do it, but also try not to compare yourself too much. It's always good to kind of look that it's possible, but also not getting down on yourself just because you're not reaching those same types of goals, then that can really kind of be depressing sometimes. So what I want to kind of share is, as I mentioned, I grew up with ADHD and dyslexia, still have ADHD, still have dyslexia. It doesn't go away. It's still a part of me. And I didn't learn how to read and write until I was like 8 years old. It was really embarrassing. My younger siblings knew how to read before I did. And that was very demotivator for myself, having low self-esteem initially. But I had great parents. And again, this really does kind of play a lot of role as far as who your role models are and who your mentors and your parents are can make a difference, especially when it comes to your self-esteem. And I had great parents, and I still have great parents. But when I finally was able to get into college, for example, it took me, they had this thing where it was called Running Start. And most kids my age, and even I was born in the summer months, so it was kind of like that weird thing where you're basically, am I a grade above or below? And because I didn't perform really well, usually my mom held me back. And so when I was going, it's what they call this Running Start, where you can actually go to college early. If you wanted to, you can take what they call as the entrance exam. And when I took that entrance exam, there was kids that were probably about almost a year younger than me taking and passing it, no problem. Well, it took me about 5 times to pass that exam. They had a reading section, a writing section, and a math section. And you had to pass at least the reading and writing in order to go into the Running Start program to be able to take college classes for college credit. And that was really devastating. Every time I would take it, I just felt like I was dumb. I'm like, I'm not going to get this. How is this even possible? But, what I say that I think a lot of people with ADHD can have if they let it shine is what I call stubborn persistence, having stubborn persistence. So I never gave up because they let you take it every quarter. So I didn't get in that first year. So I had to wait a whole nother year, but I'd take it every quarter. And it took me about 5 times. And I had the last time, the 5th time. And this was the last time I could take it because it was spring before the new school year was going to start. And I remember how there was just a lot of pressure. It's like, if I can't make it in, it's not going to happen. And I barely passed. I barely be able to got in, and I started college. Okay. But that was not the end of my struggle in the situation that I had. In fact, my very first chemistry class, can't believe I'm saying this, but I want to share with you guys, my very first chemistry class, I bombed, absolutely failed my first chemistry class because I knew I wanted to be a doctor at that point. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to take all the science classes, which not a wise decision. But I absolutely bombed my first chemistry class, general chemistry class. It was the first time I was taking chemistry, and my chemistry teacher was not that great. He wasn't supportive at all. And, he told me, hey, you know what? You suck. You suck at science, and you shouldn't even join the medical profession. You should just forget it. And that was like, oh, really? Gosh. And he made me cry. Actually, I was in tears, and I had a really good friend and my mom that just, told me, you know what? Forget him. You could do this. And so I retook the class with a different teacher that was more understanding and really worked with me, and I got an A. Okay. And so I took the rest of the general, because there's 3 general chemistry classes, and I did really good with him and passed those classes. But then there was organic chemistry. They use these classes as weirder classes for a reason. And I took the first organic chemistry class. Guess what? I failed that one. You're probably thinking at this point, it's like, why not just give up? Just give up. And it goes back to being really stubborn, really persistent, because I knew this was my calling. This was something that I had to pursue. I'm a religious person. I knew that God intended me to do this, that I had to pursue this because I had to get through this so that I can help other people that struggle with ADHD. I just knew that if I could do this, there could be other people that could do it as well. Not necessarily being a doctor, but could make it through. And I knew I had to be an example to get through college, get through medical school, so that I could show people that it could be done, no matter the struggles and frustrations that you do have. And even after, I failed that first organic chemistry class, I took it with a different teacher. Got a good grade, passed it. Then there was a second part, failed that class. You see this trend going on? You see how struggling that is? And then I retook it with a different teacher and got a good grade and passed. So it was definitely a struggle. And then going through medical school, that was also really challenging. I got better as I improved because I learned different tactics and techniques through college and through my failures. And I learned from my failures and learned different study tactics and techniques. And I had coaches and mentors that helped me through this process and had doctors that helped me change my body chemistry to be able to improve better as I was going through college and then through medical school. But so to answer everyone's questions that ask in the comments all the time, it's like, how do you even have ADHD? You're a doctor. How is that even possible? By hanging at the end of the rope, honestly, like crawling and be able to get there and being stubbornly persistent. I don't care what your challenge is. If there is, I know people don't like to hear this, but if there is a path, there's a wheel, there's a way to get through there. It is possible. Now, it does require some things. It does require passion. If you have no passion of pursuing something, it's going to be very difficult to accomplish it. And this is whenever I get people ask me, hey, should I go into the medical field? I always tell them first thing, I'm like, are you really passionate? Because if you're not, if this is like something your parents want you to do, forget it. Because medical school is really difficult. And then having ADHD and dyslexia, that just makes it 10 times harsher sometimes, right? Now, not everyone with ADHD actually struggles in school, but I certainly did. That was my biggest challenge with ADHD and dyslexia is the academics. And I had to learn to be really creative in knowing how to pursue things in a different way and different angles, and had to seek out mentors and coaches to help me figure it out because I couldn't figure it out on my own. There's no way I would be here today without mentors and coaches and my parents and things that people who have nurtured me through the process, even still today, like running a business. I still have like a business coach. I think those things are really important when it comes to ADHD that really can help you excel, because someone who's already been down the path and down that road and can show you that path, especially if they have similar struggles, can make a huge difference. So to answer your question is it possible to pursue something even if you have ADHD, something as big as being a doctor or a lawyer? I'm here to tell you I'm a living proof of it, but I'm not the only one. You guys, there's plenty of medical doctors that have ADHD, and probably more severe than I had it. It's hard to really kind of measure that, how severe it is, but you could see from just my own story of how many times I failed, right? But I never gave up. Even though I wanted to give up, and I really did, and be like, God, please, just let me pursue something different. And every time, he'd always want me to keep on pushing forward. And I'm glad I did. And I hope this sheds some light for you guys and give you some kind of hope, realizing just because something might be difficult and just because you have ADHD doesn't mean it can't be possible for you. You could look at any kind of profession, and I guarantee there's somebody with ADHD, okay? And somebody that probably has it worse than you. You have to look past that. And I'm going to do a follow-up more video about comparison and how that can be more damaging than good, especially with ADHD. If you're trying to compare yourself all the time, or look at somebody and it's like, well, he probably doesn't have ADHD because he made it. It's something you need to stop doing. It really is. So I hope you guys take this to light and understand that it is possible as long as you understand what your limits are, but also how can you improve on that and not giving up, just like I did, and so many other people who have paved the path before I did. And if you are looking to have better focus and attention and want to become great, to have an optimal brain, I have a free training, and it's in the description below, and you can watch, that goes over my proprietary process of helping you have that optimal brain, to have that sharp focus so that you can be successful. So go ahead and watch that. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks. Bye.